And I think we're all good. Welcome everyone to the Founders Talk. And right now I'm going to wait for Mr. Guido, who is actually ready to start very soon. And he's here. Guido, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great.
Can you hear me as well?
I can hear you perfectly. So we are actually set up. We have the session recording right now. We have the presentation ready as well. And I suggest that we may wait maybe for another 30 seconds and then we should be good to go. I guess we already have an attendee, which is Mr. Quan Nguyen. And then after that, there might be more people coming after this during the session. So that's fine. And we will be ensuring that you can look at the discussion that we have today on YouTube and Facebook. And by the way, we are actually packaging all those Founders Talk by the end of October or by the end of November, and then we're gonna publish this on a lot of global news, because a lot of news outlets are looking just to know more about Vietnamese founders or founders in Vietnam. So that's gonna be a great boost for all of you guys. Anyway, this is Saturday, so it's pretty simple, quiet. So we're gonna enjoy. I guess 30 seconds has passed. So what about we get started? All right.
Sure.
So welcome to the Founders Talk, and today we have a special Founders Talk because this is going not to be about tech, or this is not going to be about media, or this is not going to be about fashion, or a little bit of fashion though. We're going to talk about a very specific business that I've discovered a few years ago, and one of my investors, Adrian Tan at that time, mentioned that I should totally go meet those guys. And I recall that at that time I first met one of your co-founder. His name I think is Tom. And today we have the chance to meet Guido, and they are the co-founders of House of Barbaard. Welcome welcome, and thanks for joining the Founders Talk today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So today we're going to talk, during the Founders Talk, we're going to talk about the business that you guys have. We're going to discuss about the way you started it. But I guess the best thing we can do right now is just to kickstart right away and discuss about what is House of Barbaard. If you maybe can just discuss about the origin and how you guys started this, because I recall that you guys started in Hanoi, right?
That's right. Well, it started for us about 5.5 years ago, actually. Still back in Holland, back in the time. And the idea at first was that we wanted to start a men's clothing company. But during the period we were researching, writing a business plan, we figured out soon that we were okay, this might not be the best first step for us to take. We knew not only did it require a lot of investment, we didn't have enough knowledge of the Vietnamese market back then. So we decided to approach it differently. And that's why we originally we started as a distribution company for men's grooming products. So that was actually at the end of 2015. And we have been doing that for a little over a year. And because of that, we really started to get to know the hair industry. We were working with a lot of different hair salons in barbershops, and we also got invited to a lot of interesting hair shows and things like that. That's why we decided to focus on developing our own hair concept. Although it is more than a hair concept nowadays. Back then it started with our first barbershop in Hanoi, and that opened on the 1st of January 2017. And 1 year later we opened the same concept in Saigon. So that was actually also on the 1st of January of 2018. So at this moment we have two barbershops for the Hanoi one. And besides that, we also started expanding with clothing. Our original plan that we wanted to start with 5.5 years ago, that actually didn't work out from the beginning, but it's something we're doing now. And we've been expanding the concept further. So we are actually more people would nowadays describe us as a men's lifestyle company, because besides just being a barbershop, we're doing a lot of other things as well. You can actually go to House of Barbaard and you can actually do more than just getting a haircut. You can just relax, bar, enjoy a drink, go to a store, buy some clothes, shoes, accessories. Obviously, a very big selection of hair products, shaving products. And yeah, we also actually opened a retail store in a shopping mall in March. It wasn't the best time. It was just during the COVID lockdown, or actually before that. But we opened a retail store in Hanoi, in Lotte Center. And at this moment, it's not fully confirmed, but we are probably opening another store in Takishimaya, which is the part of Saigon Center. And that is planned for this October. Although I have to be honest, we are still in the last stages of finalizing all required licenses and documents. So it's not fully confirmed yet.
But I was wondering about one thing, like, how did you guys come up, are we gonna do this high class type of haircut services for men? And that is like a concept that you brought from the Netherlands, or is this because you thought about it for quite some time and you thought it was a great fit for Vietnam, or what was your thought process on that with Tom? How did they start like this, especially in Hanoi?
Actually, I studied hospitality management. So, and I mostly worked in luxury hotels. So I stopped working in hospitality 6 months before I started Barber, before I moved to Vietnam. That is also one of the reasons I got to know Vietnam, by the way. It's because of my hospitality education. I worked with a lot of Asian students as well back in the day, and that's what that was the reason that I decided to travel to Vietnam in 2010, and that's when I slowly started thinking about potentially opening a business here. But yeah, I was working in the luxury hotel segment, and when I was still studying, I had to wear a school uniform because hospitality schools they're quite strict in terms of dress code. So I had to wear a school uniform, but I wasn't really happy about wearing that. So I was, during that time, I kind of started to get into fashion, grooming. I really started caring about my hair, and that's how that came. So when I was working in hospitality until beginning of 2015, I was thinking about what I would really love to do, a concept in which we could combine hospitality, so my hotel background, and sort of my hobby, which was fashion and grooming. And Tom, who is my business partner, I have known him since first year high school, and he is a designer. He studied industrial design, creative design, and he has very similar hobbies and interests as I do. And that's why it was for us a very logical match to work together. He knew Asia as well already. And yeah, well, the grooming brand, the first brand that we started distributing at the end of 2015. It was produced, it was created by a Dutch barbershop. And back then, the barbershop was already quite well known. But during the first year that we were actually here in Vietnam, so that was, let's say the beginning of 2016, that barbershop back in Holland that was making those grooming products, they actually got world famous. They got voted to be #1 barbershop in the world, and that had given them a lot of publicity, and we were kind of representing them more or less here in Vietnam. We were distributing their brand here, and because of the publicity they were getting, we were also getting more and more publicity. And that is when that is something we knew already from the beginning. When we started distributing here, we knew, okay, the barbershops here in Vietnam, the hair salons here in Vietnam aren't like they are back in Europe. Quality-wise, skill-wise, there's no real education or school. And besides that, hygiene standards, customer service standards weren't up to the way I would like to have it, at least, also considering my background. And as well, I have a hairstyle that not every Vietnamese person can cut, so it happened often that I tried a new in a hair salon, a barbershop, and they would actually cut me through YouTube. So they'll have a YouTube video playing next to them, and they'll try to like do exactly the same way they were doing in the YouTube video.
Okay.
So like that was, I mean, we asked a barber from Holland to join us and open our first barber school, which opened 5 our first location opened in Hanoi. And
Okay.
the barber shop that we were actually working with at first, the ones that were making those grooming products that we were distributing, they are more like punkster hipster style. And you would also notice that in the first year that we were actually running House of Barbaard, or we were running Barbaard, because back then the barbershop didn't exist yet. We were also, because of that, a little bit more like 1950s greaser styles. We weren't punkster, hipsters, because that wasn't our style. But because of the brand we were representing, we had to match a little bit with them, looking a little bit more like rough, like they did. But on the same time, me and Tom said, like, okay, when we're going to make our own concept, it has to be something different, because we aren't like that. Really, we are more gentleman type of guys, and that's why we decided to do the same kind of quality level barbershop that they are doing back in Holland, and the same kind of concept you will find in Holland, but we are doing it our own way, with our own twist, with everything gentleman themed and high level standards, obviously.
I have a question, like especially as a founder, because WisePass is pretty much about lifestyle. And then I was wondering, like, what is your idea of lifestyle for House of Barbaard for you? Like, okay, what is lifestyle for Guido and Tom and House of Barbaard?
Well, our lifestyle, so that is a motto more or less, is gentlemen with attitude, because it's something that we do wanna represent, and also spread. Let's say here in Vietnam, is we're gentlemen. We like to dress well. I can honestly say we care about ethics, how to say, morality, and those sort of things like this. So that's for us very important. But in the same time, a lot of gentlemen in the world, they are quite cocky and quite they use the style and the suits or whatever they wear just to, it's like, show off, more or less. And not everybody's like that, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people are. And what we wanted to do is be those type of gentlemen that dress as well, but in the same time is more easygoing, more humble. And you would also notice the way we dress, it is always a bit naughty. So yes, we were suits, we were waistcoats, we were, well, nice dress shoes, all those things that most gentlemen would wear, but it's more with an Italian twist, I would say, because to my opinion, if you look at gentleman's lifestyle in general, I think Italians would come the closest to us. More colorful, more daring, and like you would even see me wearing my shirt now, it's always a little bit too low.
A bit open.
Always rolled up sleeves. So like our concept is gentlemen with attitude, more saying, be classy but be easygoing. Don't be snobby. Don't be cocky.
Okay. Because I realized when I asked this question, like lifestyle is a word that is being used by very lots of different people, and then that's why it's really tricky, because like when you say lifestyle, then people would just put a lot of different things, and then there are things you would be able to control, and there are things that you wouldn't be able to control, like your customers, like you won't be able to control their behaviors, you won't be able to control and have the way they're gonna act. But pretty much like the only thing you can convey for the values or for the brand is, especially at WisePass, is like we thought about lifestyle as how to enjoy, how to take care of yourself, to make sure that you feel good eventually. And from that very simple definition, then we derive back like all the type of activities you could think of just to enjoy. And pampering yourself at House of Barbaard is one of them. You can actually come there, relax with a glass of whiskey, and actually make sure that you can look good. You can go and watch a movie, because we're working with CGV, and then they are actually a great access to watch a bunch of movies when we can now. Or you can go pick a bottle of whiskey with some friends and go enjoy at the club. That's because you want to go out and enjoy with your friends. That's why like this discussion about lifestyle is really endless, because I realize that everyone's going to have their own definition, and then we share and exchange. And that's pretty much, I remember the first time I met you guys, I spoke with some almost like 3 hours. And then I realized like I couldn't go home because like Vietnam has won the soccer game. But the next question I was wondering about like is like, okay, you guys did that. You started like this. And then did you happen to have a haircut in Vietnam, but not at House of Barbaard? And then what was your experience? Is this something that led you to do all this thing? Are you still going into some other hair service or hair salon?
Well, yes. Well, obviously, before we started House of Barbaard, I went to a lot of different barbershops. Also, because it was our business back then. We were distributing hair products, so we had to go to different barbershops, meeting them, and that would also often mean that we'll try those services. And that is when I indeed realized that there are hairdresser schools, but hairdressers and barbers are not the same. And a lot of people just be like, why it's not the same? It is a different culture. Completely different culture. And anyways, like, yes, I went to a lot of barbershop, especially before I started House of Barbaard. And that was one of the reasons we started House of Barbaard, actually, because we often struggled finding good quality services.
Like,
once every 4 or 5 months.
Yes.
What we were talking about was like, so yeah, before I started House of Barbaard, I tried haircuts at many different barbershops, but nowadays maybe once every 4 months, 5 months. I still like to find out what else there is here in Vietnam. It's also good, I guess, for market research reasons, and you need to know what's happening in the city. You know what other bars open up, what other people are doing. I think that's the smart thing to do, at least as a business owner. You should also always try to figure out what everybody else is doing. And so yeah,
market research and all that.
I can honestly say the hair industry here in Vietnam has developed a lot, though, over the last 3-4 years. The quality is much better than it was before we started. I think we were actually even one of the first real barbershops here in Vietnam. At this moment, there are more and more other barbershops opening up, but I do think until today we're still quite unique, luckily.
Still do think as well.
Yeah.
Well,
it's good to see the industry developing. I mean, it's a good thing. It should be like that.
Definitely. Well, I want to talk now about like the business model. So I want to know like, so initially I thought about House of Barbaard has a very simple business, like your hair salon, it's upscale, and then you go, you get your great haircut, you might get your shot of whiskey, and then that's pretty much of it, right? But actually, when I started to dig in, and I realized that, well, yeah, a little bit more than that. You're not just doing the hair salon thing and you servicing, get a bunch of barbers, you get a product, you've got the membership, you've got actually soon a new product line as well we can talk about now. Can you talk a little bit more about like how you start simply with like this, and then like the rest, and how it actually affects your business?
Yes, of course. So as I said, we all started as a distribution company. That is how we made our first money. That is what we partly used to invest in our first location in Hanoi. But I can also say from the beginning, we have had a quite active social media page and also online lifestyle magazine, Barbar.com. I have to also say about 1.5 or 2 years ago, we stopped distributing products because we believed it was more interesting to focus on our own products instead of focusing on distributing other people's products, because it's very time consuming as well. Like you have to deal with a lot of paperwork, even corruption here in Vietnam. So like we stopped the distribution right now. We're no longer doing that. And like, look, what we're doing right now is we have 2 barbershops. We have our own line of clothing, socks, and some other Barbaard products that we have created over the last few years. It's expanding still. We're planning to add a perfume, a beard balm. There'll be beard oil coming, and some other like grooming products over the next year. Probably also a pomade, although that might take a little longer because that is very difficult to formulate, because something we do want to make sure that if we launch something that it's we do it well. It needs to be the best quality. I mean, we have a reputation already, and we need to make sure that anything we sell is up to that quality standard. We would also see that with our clothing, our clothing isn't the cheapest per se here in Vietnam, but it's probably one of the most highest quality brands for men's shirts especially. But yeah, we have the two barbershop and the retail store in Lotte Center in Hanoi, with potentially one more coming up. The idea is we want to be like an all-around men's concept. So House of Barbaard itself will be like a flagship. And I also think that not everybody will always go to House of Barbaard. House of Barbaard should kind of be the temple of of our company. There will only be always one House of Barbaard in the city, no more. That is the deal we made with each other. On the other hand, we will be able to open more retail stores, so that it is definitely possible that, let's say in Saigon, there's going to be a retail store in Tao Dien District 2, and there's one in, I don't know, like District 7, because our existing House of Barbaard is in District 1. So you could always think, okay, maybe it's smart to have a satellite location in District 2 and District 7, because those are also quite interesting markets in the Saigon case. We might also consider to maybe put like a pop-up barbershop idea there, like a very small version of House of Barbaard. But House of Barbaard itself, there's a building with multiple floors. Like Hanoi has 6 floors and Saigon has 4 floors. Yes, although we're not using the entire building at the moment.
Okay.
Like Hanoi, we're using about only 50% of the building. The rest, well, we are using the other 50% as well, but not for business, but for like living space for our barbers and staff, office, storage, those sort of things. In Saigon, we're using maybe 70% of the space, and the remaining is like a staff kitchen and staff living room. But the idea is that we are going to, of course, be using those spaces more and more over the next months or years. It's actually something I'm focusing on at the moment. We're going to see if we can find somebody that is like a leather craftsman or something that can just sit there and work there the entire day making leather and making wallets or whatsoever. And if somebody wants to order something, they can just go there and ask for it, and they can make upon request. Those are the kind of things we want to work on at this moment. Yes, we have the clothing, the accessories, the grooming products. In Saigon, we have a bar as well, which is separate from the barbershop. It's on the ground floor. Traditionally, the barbershop is always on the top floor. It is like that in Hanoi, and it is like that in Saigon. The reason we do that is we want ultimately that all the floors between the ground floor and the barbershop are going to be used for like retail or whatever, like I said, like a workman shop, something like that. So like, but in Hanoi there's a bar as well, but it is very small. It has like 8 seats, and it is right next to the barbershop. So in Hanoi, the people that have drinks in House of Barbaard are only barbershop guests that come a little bit sooner or stay a little bit longer, and they enjoy a glass of whiskey before after their service or a cocktail. Although in Saigon, we have a bar of like 40 seats, so it's quite spacious. Not huge, but a good size. So in Saigon, we do actually have a lot of people that come just for the bar. What is also maybe funny to share is that it is a traditional barbershop thing that is, especially in Europe, very normal, but we do not allow any woman into the barbershop. So the top floor, because of that, is men's only. Usually,
and the bar is fine for women, right?
The bar is fine for women. At least in Saigon, it is. In Hanoi, it's not, because in Hanoi it's right next to the barbershop. So in Hanoi, it's men's only. The bar.
Oh wow. Okay.
So because of that, in Hanoi we have on the ground floor, like a lobby / reception area, and that's where the ladies wait. Yeah. We're serving some tea, some coffee, a glass of water, some pastries on special occasions. We have chocolates laying there, magazines. They can wait there, sit there. But like, so in Saigon, the ladies can wait downstairs in the bar, and in Hanoi they wait downstairs in the lobby reception room. Anyways, we haven't focused a lot on the lifestyle magazine, so now online magazine, for the last 2.5 years. We started doing that originally when we were still still distributing before House of Barbaard started. But when House of Barbaard started, we were kind of distracted by the barbershop and everything else we were doing. So the online magazine has kind of been sleeping, I would say, for about 2 years. But since 4 months now, since Corona pretty much, the magazine is running again and it's doing really well. I think we're doing like this moment. I will have to check what it was last month, but probably about 300,000 or 400,000 unique users per month that are reading our articles. And we also launched a community page on Facebook that only launched 1 month ago that now has like 3,000 members. But that's currently the way we wanna spread our lifestyle more and guide men more or less about, because like for example I can tell you in Vietnam there's a lack of knowledge in terms of fashion, because people don't understand what is the difference between a high quality dress shirt and a low quality dress shirt. A lot of people always think, okay, I want something which is thin because it's less hot. I want something standard and simple, instead of people do not really know, like, as an example, in our store in Lotte, it is actually pretty hard selling our shirts. I would tell you, is because we keep having the discussion with the customers there that are saying, no, your shirts are too thick. I want something more thin because I want something which is cool. But actually, it is a misunderstanding, because it doesn't mean when something is thin that it's cooler than when something is thick. It's all to do with the material. It has to do with the breathability, which is how tight the weaving of the shirt, and those kind of things we need to teach people about, because and those are things we are doing through our online magazine, and we are with our lifestyle, we are expanding our retail concept, and I do think the retail concept will grow a lot more over the next few years.
Okay. When you mention about the customers, like your regular customers are now like more like local or like expat? Like, this is a question from our attendees, by the way. So I'm just trying to incorporate that as well.
Yeah, that's how popping up. Well, in Hanoi, we at this moment, I have to say it might be changing a little bit. I don't know the numbers of the last 2 months, but prior to Corona, it was about 50-50%. Well, 50% Vietnamese, 50% foreigner, and foreigner could also mean like Japanese, Korean. I'm not gonna say Westerners only. In Saigon, it's definitely about 65% foreigner and 35% Vietnamese. So we do have more Vietnamese customers up in Hanoi. Although I can say now, because of COVID, Corona, the amount of Western custom has gone down.
Of course.
I guess that I have to look at the numbers. I can't really say it now, but I think at this moment we're probably at like 60% Vietnamese in Hanoi, 40% Western, and probably going towards 55 Western and 45 Vietnamese in Saigon. So I think that it's a little bit more, and we're also focusing purposely more on the Vietnamese market at the moment, because I think that is the smart thing to do now during COVID. In general, I mean, it's a more type of customer.
I agree, especially like for us, like with this unprecedented times, like it's going to be really hard just to go for, well, definitely not tourism, right? And customer from 5-star hotels right now are pretty much close to zero, because like we have like very few people coming over Vietnam at the moment. Like, there's only going to be like few diplomats and experts or investors, right? The volume has gone down, that's close to zero right now. So I guess it's really good, like just to focus on the domestic market, trying to figure out how you can reposition your business so you can really like reach the right target audience. Because like we just released an article this morning about like the global hospitality, like with the Accor group, and they really like have like a very bad time. And not only Accor, but also like IHG and Hyatt and the Hilton hotels. So it doesn't seem to change anytime soon for Vietnam. And it seems like because of the low occupancy rates and all this, like they're only thinking about like just figuring out something else just to drive revenue up with new type of product lines. So for House of Barbaard, I guess like if you guys focus on the Vietnamese people in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, then that would be like the best place. Oh, one question. You guys have membership. So I don't know, like if you want to maybe share a little bit about this, because I was surprised. I mean, we're doing memberships, we're doing subscription, right? And so did you. So can you tell us and share more about this? Because I only discovered that only when I did an event, and I thought it was awesome. That was one of your employees actually. I was just going upstairs and he was just showing me like all the different services and the memberships that you guys have. And I think that if you could share it to the audience, that would be great.
Sure. So we have a loyalty system, membership system. It's actually, we have a loyalty and a membership system. I can almost say it's two separate things in our case.
Sure.
The loyalty system is a model in which we have 4 different tiers. We have blue members, silver members, gold members, and black members. Anyone visiting House of Barbaard that gets registered in our system, which you always get during your first visit, at least when you come to the barbershop, everybody becomes a blue member automatically. When somebody spends 8.5 million within 1 year, you'll become a silver member. When you spend 50 million within 1 year, you become a gold member. When you spend 25 million within 1 year, you become a black member. It needs to be within those 12 months. If you don't keep it up the year after, then you would drop back to, well, it depends. You can be go down or up depending, but you need to keep up that amount of expenditure. Although I have to say, we have a lot of ways that we make it easier for people to actually reach those levels. For example, when you buy our gentleman agreement, which is our subscription service, that is also the type of membership we offer. You can, for example, get instant upgrades to certain membership tiers. For example, with every gentleman agreement, you always get an instant upgrade to silver member. And when you buy, for example, our King's agreement, which is our highest level of agreement, you get an instant upgrade to black member. And also I have to say, because we have the bar, we have the clothing, it is nowadays easier than before to actually reach those levels. Every time you spend money at House of Barbaard, it actually gives you loyalty points. So every 3,000 Vietnam dongs spent becomes 100,000 Vietnam dongs spent becomes 3,000 points, and you can use those points to redeem that for discounts. You can even save it up, and you can get a free haircut, for example, to have that system. And I can also say with every membership tier, blue, silver, gold, and black, you have different benefits. It's on our website. Quite interesting, and it is getting more interesting at this moment because we're doing some partnerships, maybe with you guys even. But like the blue member has basic benefits, still quite some interesting ones. But a silver member gets like a fixed discount on certain things, and a gold member and black member also have certain discounts. But if you are a black member, for example, you get free shoe polish whenever you come. You get invited to like special events that we organize once in a while, like whiskey tastings or master classes. We have a butler program. So if you're a black member or VIP member, you get access to a special phone number. That is somebody which is reachable. Of course, somebody has to sleep, but officially 24/7. And whenever you need like quick help or a quick booking or whatsoever, you are in a rush, or you are like, let's say a busy CEO, then you can actually call that number and be like, okay, do you have a spot available in half an hour? And we also have a system that if you are one of those black members, you can be prioritized in some ways. But like that is the kind of system we have built. Plus, you have a discount program that means that, for example, work together with Intercontinental in Hanoi. We work with Sofitel. We work with some other partners as well. So when you are a member with us, you get certain discounts when you go there. As a black member, for example, you can get 15% discount on food and beverage in Intercontinental. So that's some of the things we do. And then just quickly go into the gentleman agreements. The gentleman agreements are a 1 year, 12 times subscription service. You pre-book your services more or less. for a discounted price, and then you get some extra benefits when pre-booking. And we have the King's Agreement, which is probably the most interesting one, which is a limited amount of haircuts, barber services, shaves, whatever you want in 1 year. So you can go as often as you want, even every day, possible.
Wow.
And you get an instant upgrade to Black Member. You get a box of cigars that will be waiting for you at House of Barbaard every time you come. 20 cigars, you get 2 bottles of choice. So we have like a King's Agreement selection of drinks. By the way, we also have a special selection in our bar, which is only accessible to certain members. And also those members can do bottle keep service. But in the case of a King's Agreement, you get to choose 2 bottles for bottle keep service. So whenever you come, you can always have your own glass of whiskey. We have like a more premium type of whiskey, because actually all our services include whiskey. At every visit, you get a glass of whiskey and some finger food. You can also have a beer, by the way, or a soft drink, or a juice, or a cappuccino. We all have that available. But as a Black member, as a King's Agreement member, you have like access to a higher range of whiskeys and a little more fancy, I could say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, like, more people can be aware of that, and then I'll make sure I can push this, because I thought that was really interesting. Anyway, let's move like a little bit further, like the challenges. So how hard it is for you just to bring this concept back in Vietnam, to bring it, but also like to implement it, deploy it, expand it, develop it, grow it, especially even now, like during this kind of like COVID-19 time. Like what kind of things are you facing for like in normal times, like without the COVID, and then maybe like you can share maybe with us as well during this special time.
Sure. Well, like our first challenges at the beginning, and we still, well, no longer that much, but like when we just started our company here in Vietnam, was investments. We noticed it was very difficult to work with the Vietnamese banks. Even myself, it was difficult getting a bank account and even sending money abroad, as you must probably know. So it's not easy for foreigners to work here in Vietnam. And in our case, also we needed to find investment outside Vietnam. Well, you could find somebody in Vietnam potentially, like an angel investor, but we back in the day preferred with either funding ourselves or having a foreign investor, because we didn't know the people here well enough that we would be like, okay, we're going to have somebody investing a big amount of money and potentially having a that person might want to have a share in the company whatsoever. So we decided not to do that. So we had to find our investment back in Holland, which was a very good decision, but was also difficult because most of the people that could potentially be investors had never been to Vietnam, or didn't really like understand why a concept like this would actually
work in Vietnam.
So like that was definitely an issue in the beginning. Now we are more lucky nowadays. We have met some people here in Vietnam that have helped us, for example, developing the clothing, and help us growing, because like every company will need investors. Okay, if you have to do everything from your profits, of course you can grow, but you can grow at a speed that you should be growing here in Vietnam, because Vietnam is such a fast growing market
today.
So
I mean, like for now.
Yeah, like you need to keep developing, more or less, I have to say, because look, in Vietnam, one store opens, often you see within 6 months they have 10 locations. And do you really think that's all funded from the profit of that one first store? Of course not. You have to go find somebody that believes in the concept and sees the success of the first location and helps you to grow. That was definitely one of the biggest challenges we had. And besides that, I think we are quite lucky. I can say most of the other challenges that we deal with is mostly cultural. Although we managed to overcome that. I mean, if you live here long enough, you know how to deal with some of the cultural differences.
Do you have an example, like cultural, so you can elaborate? I know, like, you don't need to go for like tons of examples, but something particular so people can understand what you mean by cultural.
Well,
so many.
there's so many. Like look, like you can see it from the way things are being cleaned, from the way that's like if you would hire somebody to do a job to fix something, like how things get fixed. And if somebody paints your walls, how they somehow always manage to like to paint over all the light switches and have all the paint going everywhere where it shouldn't be. It's like I think of people in general, like it, especially the still more like less educated people. They're practical. They think it needs to be practical. That's all that's important, and they don't have the same amount of like level of standards so that we expect. Uh, so like that's definitely some of the challenges. And besides that, if you look at staffing, I even mentioned different cultural difference between Hanoi and Saigon. Like the Hanoi staff, and not only the staff, all the people we work with, and the people in general in Hanoi are very different already than in Saigon. So I don't know.
Do you have issues with like people from Hanoi and staff from Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City like able to work with each other, or is it like fine? Or
Actually,
some barbers from Hanoi are more stylish, and some barbers from the south are less stylish, so they're trying to be competing with each other?
yes,
Oh wow.
the differences are really big, surprisingly.
Okay.
I wouldn't go too much in detail about it, but like yes,
Sure.
I can. Honestly, it has gotten better, but especially in the beginning, we did notice that. For example, here in Saigon, we had both Hanoi and Saigon barbers working. Because Hanoi was our first location, obviously, when we opened Saigon, we needed to bring some of the more experienced barbers to Saigon because we needed to have some of those experienced guys. So we had a couple of Hanoi barbers in Saigon and the new guys we hired. And at first, you could see the division in the team. Like you would just have the Hanoi barber team and the Saigon barber team, and they worked separately. Although that has changed luckily to this point. I think, by the way, the biggest challenge, I have to be honest, this is something that I started noticing because of COVID, and I started to understand it more and more and more. And I don't want to say that this is for everybody here in Vietnam, but I started figuring out, to be honest, that here in Vietnam, um, how to describe this? It's money first and performance after. So how to describe this?
Okay.
For example,
Go ahead.
I was
We'll get that.
so for example, I was working in the hotel industry back in Holland, and I was working in sales as well. I would personally believe, and I think that's a lot of maybe other foreigners or at least Westerners can understand that, is like I would first believe is I'm gonna work as hard as I can for the company. I'm gonna sell as much as I can sell. I'm gonna do as much upselling as much as I can do, so I can make the company I work for more successful and hopefully earn a promotion. Because if you work for a good company, they would recognize your efforts. They will give you a promotion. They would give you the chance of growing within your job. And then so like I would say first you try the best you can, and then hopefully you'll be rewarded with a bonus or a promotion. But something that I noticed here is that people they get motivated by first seeing the money they can earn or they earn, and then they start working, not the other way around. I don't know how to explain that, but like for example, it shocked me that after COVID, I decided to restructure a sales commission system. Obviously, when the barbers do sell something, they get sales commission, and we try to actually lower the base salary a little bit and instead increase all their commissions. And
Okay.
from before to after COVID, our sales went 250%, and that is something
Nice.
that was like, holy shit. I did not expect that to happen. I always believed we were having sales trainings all the time. We always talked about the importance of doing sales. They already had a sales commission. There was already a sales commission, but somehow by doubling the amount of sales commission they could earn and putting the base salary down a little bit, suddenly they managed to sell like more than twice as much as before COVID, and that is something that I did not expect. To be honest, it even shocked me to another level. I was like, holy shit. I didn't
So
expect
sales
that.
increased by 250%, just like that. I mean, just because of the compensation structure that you've done, that motivated them just to work harder and just get more people to come over and buy, right? For the service or whatever the products. Wow.
Yeah. So
Makes
this
me
is
think about
about
that.
product sales that we were doing. Yes, the increase has been tremendous, like insane. I did not expect
Mm.
that, and because of this, we even continued restructuring our compensation and salary structures, because now we understand this. We also know like how we can use this better, and indeed do that not only on sales level but on different ways to.
And this is the time to pause for around like 5
You want
seconds.
to say something?
And because like I have a COVID-19 temperature check right now, so
Oh,
I'll be
really?
back. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, this is something in the last I'll have to do. So okay, so
Yes.
getting back to the compensation structure, because my experience, like when I hire employees, is actually I just give a base salary, and then basically at WisePass, we start low, but then we double your salary every 6 months. So you start at 6 million, and then after that, like if you're doing well, then so first of all, you pass your probation. If you're an intern, you do your internship, and then you start your full-time job. You get paid 6 million, and every 6 months it doubles if you are able to perform, of course, and then if you are staying. So it's not really commission based, because like when you're doing like operations job or a marketing job, or like even like business development, like the sales gonna come from subscription. But then actually it helps people just to try to stay in the company, so it's turnover. And then it's another thing, like if you're able to really perform over time, and then you get a good feedback from your peers, and then you're able just to really contribute. And then if I am your manager and I see that you're doing well, and then the people around you actually appreciate you, then that creates a really good working environment. So that's something I used to do. And then I'm thinking of actually changing the compensation structure, just to see like if you align more on the sales, like how they will react. Because I can tell you, like it seems like it's not really based only on trust. It's just like if they can make more money now, and how, then and then you give them the keys, they go and figure out themselves. That's actually how you motivate them, and then boom, done, 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 and then they can actually feel they can perform, and they get their little wins by selling one product or book one haircut, and they can know that money is going to come. So I feel this is how like it works here, rather than thinking about long term and all this kind of thing. Like, no, I just want to get money done, get things done so I can get my money. And that seems to work better in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh as well. So anyway, okay,
Yeah,
good.
it is honestly very interesting, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I did not realize this myself until after COVID, and yes, it, it works. Like for example, what I would usually say, like when we as a team, as a company, wherever like all the employees together, if we can make the company more successful together by our efforts, then obviously that's going to mean salary raise. Like obviously that's going to mean that whenever a company is going to grow, so will you. But that is not enough. That's yeah. I don't think that is enough of a motivator to say that
Yeah,
somehow.
I get, you can't just be inspiring and say some nice words, because like at the end of the day, people need to live, right? So they care about like what's in my pocket at the end of the month, and it's
They
really practical, right?
I can tell you something. They are not earning more than they did before. It's just a different structure. So it's
Wow.
like that. That's the funny thing
Okay.
about it. They're not earning more. It's just a different structure. So yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
not to say that because of this down are they earning more salary. It's just the idea behind it has changed somehow. But otherwise, it's not like they're going home with. I mean, yes, one thing with it with is good about this new system we are working on is that the people that really want to work hard, they would ultimately earn more than they would do before. And those that are actually don't want to like do too much, they will end up earning less. But at the end of the day, it doesn't per se have to cost that much more. Just
okay.
like
Okay. So overall, like your cost structure didn't change too much, but then it seems like it affected the top line a lot, and then eventually the bottom line, which is good as well.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
We're just gonna move on, because like we're already like 4:50, and then we're supposed to finish like by 5:30 technically, or 5 p.m. So we'll land slowly, smoothly soon. Marketing. So yeah, we discussed a little bit about the customers, about the fact that you guys get locals and expat. Say. Um, how do you find those customers? So before COVID or maybe after COVID, and then during the COVID time, like what kind of marketing do you do? And how do you make sure like those are the right people, the right customers? That's
Very good
another
question.
big, yeah, sure.
Well, actually,
Next time.
this is something. Well, I have to say, COVID was interesting. It still is, because like during that first lockdown, we have digged into every single thing, like our Facebook advertising. We have looked at every single aspect of the company. It was like, hey, how can we improve what? And because something I can be honest with you about, our company has grown really fast over the last 5 years, so fast that I almost can't realize it, and I can't keep up with it sometimes. That like we had a marketing manager in the beginning that could handle everything, but at a certain point when the company was growing and we went from one store to two, and we went to retail, and the web shop, which is also now online, by the way, we started noticing that at first we could handle the marketing because our own knowledge and the knowledge of our marketing manager was enough to like for the company back then. But till this point, we also know that we needed to change things. For example, we changed our marketing team. We are now working with like more professionals, because what we did back in the day is I really much believe in like zero to hero concepts of like hiring people that don't per se have a lot of experience, but people that are just extremely like enthusiastic and motivated, and just let them develop within the job itself by them on the job learning more or less. Even for the barbers, all of the barbers we hired are zero to hero, because like none of them had any experience before working with us, and we train them for 5 months and they learn it from us. Like we are the one that teach them everything. So that's what we did even with our management team. If you look at, especially in the past, our operation managers, everything, they were all relatively unexperienced people, but very enthusiastic, and they learned on the job. But for marketing, let's go to marketing. There was a little bit of a thing, because the company has been growing so much that we figured out like we really need to bring some more expertise in now. Like this is the moment, because like otherwise we want, like if you SEO, like those sort of things, you really need to have really knowledgeable people to handle that. Like, and even with Facebook advertising, if like the algorithm change all the time, you really need to keep up with how everything works. So like if you don't have somebody that really specializes in that, then like you can be wasting a lot of money on Facebook advertising, because you need to be able to track your conversions, and there need to be a pixel that you can actually track if somebody that comes after the advertisement you post. And to be honest, for example, until the end of last year, we were running lots of advertisement, but had no clue if the advertisement were working, yes or no. We assumed they were, because there was customers coming in, and the customer would say, "Oh, I've seen your advertisement," but we didn't have a pixel that could work properly. That's why we never really 100% knew the conversion rates.
So I was wondering about that, because like you're pretty much like more like an offline business, right? Because if you go for a haircut, then you need to go to a location to get your haircut, right? But then like, how do you measure like, okay, the easiest maybe is like, how much did you spend in a month? And basically how many orders or how many sales or how many bookings or whatever the metrics for sales. And you're not able like to really measure like what's going between. And then do you have like any measurement tools for that, or how do you attribute? And if I understand well, that you don't know how to do the attribution per marketing channel, if I am correct.
Well, now we started to getting better at this, even for the bar. We're doing like social Wi-Fi, those things, so we can actually know who's in the bar, and we can know like did any of these people see the advertisement online. For the
Okay.
for bookings, the thing is, that is something which is a little bit annoying in this case. Like we talk about the Facebook advertising, digital marketing. Somehow I remember we're working on this now to make this better, but like we had a sort of moment we were trying to track the conversion rates, but we noticed, I have to even try to remember what happened back then, but it had to do with, he would recognize returning customers also as new customers or something. He couldn't understand whether it was that customer came from the advertisement or was an old customer that already came pretty much. So it was so the numbers we were getting, they weren't accurate. and we are currently building a whole new online booking tool, which is going to make it easier for us with a pixel to track this better. But like, I have to also say, I think honestly though, at least 50% of the customers we get in every month, like new customers at least, is how to say, uh, that like customers referring each other pretty much, or like word of mouth. Like we do have to say, because our concept is still quite unique, and luckily, happily enough, most people leave happy. And we do have a lot of fix-up haircuts, even from customers going to like other barbershop, and then they mess up their haircut, and then the customer says, "Please, I heard you guys are really good. At first, I thought you guys were a little too expensive, but now I do want to give it a shot because I don't want to walk around like with his haircuts." So we have a lot of fix-up haircuts, and then we fix those haircuts, and these people turn in extremely loyal customers. They will tell everybody. So like we got a lot of marketing from word of mouth for sure, and we have a referral system that when an existing customer introduces a new customer, both the new customer and the existing customer get a discount and a free drink upgrade. So and that referral program works really well, because it is both beneficial to the new person and to the existing customer. That is something that works great. I think that's one of the most successful campaigns that we've been running. We have a welcome to the family promotion once in a while, which we try to bring in new customers to like giving them 25% discount for only your first visit, kind of thing. We're doing that once in a while. Not always, it's on and off these type of promotions. And then not anymore. We lost about 25% of our customers after COVID, just because we were getting 20 to 25% of our customers were tourists, actually. A lot of the more like luxury hotels here in Vietnam, when a tourist would walk up to the reception or the concierge asking, do you know good barbershop or hair salon, I do think that a lot of these receptionists and concierges, at least in some of the 5-star hotels, they would all send their customers to us. And obviously, we also try to keep them happy in exchange by like giving them a free haircut once in a while. So that's of course a way of
that helps.
Yeah. So like, yeah. But that's honestly the much I can say, I guess, right now of marketing. We just hired somebody new that's gonna do marketing. We're actually considering between hiring like an external marketing company or like keep doing this in-house. We did decide to keep doing this in-house. But we are still, maybe someday we will be hiring an external marketing company, at least to help us with things like a web shop and things like that, because that especially requires a lot of expertise if you want to do SEO.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's more cost effective, like to go internal, like for the beginning, because like if you go for an agency, you're gonna have to pay for their fixed costs and all this kind of thing, and then they're gonna have to worry about multiple customers. Whereas like when you have your own people, it might not be perfect, but then the thing is, at least like you have a set cost, and then you can try different things, and then you try to implement. And then yes, it's gonna be hard, and it's gonna be messy, and it's gonna be complicated sometimes because you think your great idea is gonna work and doesn't. And then you have a lot of hard time for measurement as well, for analytics. Like, okay, so how many new customers and how many repeat? Well, at least you guys have the booking system where you put the email or the phone number. So at least you can count the new phone numbers or the repeat phone numbers for the booking. So you can take a look at the how many new and how many repeats. And from there, like, how do you get new bookings? So new customers, like on a monthly basis. That's a good start, because like I can tell like a lot of businesses usually they don't even do that. They just get the money, bye, I'll see you later. So that's a start. And Facebook is great, but it gets expensive, to be honest. But then gotta do what you gotta do, right? So you start maybe first with social media, and then see later like how you can reconcile like the advertising, and then eventually the ultimate conversion. And SEO is actually a long-term investment. But then, by the way, like some of our customers are actually having some SEO agencies, so I'll be more than happy just to refer, and then can give a shot and see like if they're interesting. They might be expensive though, so We'll see.
That's the issue. Honestly, I also think we have been very lucky. While we are very lucky over the last years because we've had a lot of media attention. We have been in many different magazines, and to be honest, most of them we didn't have to pay for because they were so excited about our concept that they were more than happy to write about us for free. So we have been in a lot of magazines that we really appreciate. And besides that, we've
Movies as
been
well.
movies, like 4 or 5 movies actually. Um, we have quite some KOL customers, so like movie stars, like famous people in Vietnam that are customers in the barbershop that also helps because they would tag us once in a while or like post a picture of themselves in House of Barbaard. That's also really useful marketing. And besides that, once in a while we get invited for like offline events, like when one of the reasons that we opened in Lotte Center and even potentially going to open in Takashimaya is because during Father Day's event, for example, they would often ask us like, hey, can you guys do like a barbershop pop-up? And whenever customers spend more than 2 million in the shopping mall, they would they can
You
get
get
a
a
free
haircut.
haircut. And they still pay us a little bit less than we would normally earn. But for us, that's great marketing because there's thousands of people passing by on a day seeing our pop-up store. So like those are different marketing ways that we have done. And to be honest, those are the best, the best,
Mm.
the best marketing because it's relatively inexpensive and it's very good for brand exposure. Yeah.
But
And
what
like
would be your, I mean, like, what would be your focus right now, like, on for this year or maybe like even for next year in 2021, like in terms of marketing activity, like what would be the main focus, like what can you think of doing so you can have an impact on the sales, like if you were trying out something? Do you have any idea yet?
what do you mean? What sort of marketing strategy you wanna do for the next year?
Yeah, let's say like you need to drive more like traffic in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, of course, right? And then Takashimaya and all that. Like, do you have like figure out like something else so that you can actually increase by let's say 2x or 3x the amount of bookings, or
Well, like I want to work more with like sales and PR, so making collaboration with others, like with you guys, for example. I think that is
sure.
something I want to focus on more. Like uh, I think brand collaborations are very valuable at the moment, especially with this time, the COVID. Um, I Next year we'll have to see. Like I've been focusing way more on getting KOLs to like be our customers and like having them posting about it, which is very useful as well nowadays in Vietnam. Having like YouTubers making videos about us, because
Mm.
that is honestly the best way of reaching Vietnamese people. If you want to reach Vietnamese people, you need to do that to KOLs, to YouTube, to like famous YouTubers. You have a lot of vloggers and stuff that you. If they will make a video about you, that's great. We actually had somebody making a video last weekend, very successful, the
Mm.
YouTuber. And, we don't know. The issue is, of course, COVID is happening, and we don't know how long it's going to take until the borders can open again and until the tourists come back. So I do
Yeah.
have to say the next year is going to be very hard to forecast. You can say like uh, here in Vietnam, I see that's the main question you were actually asking me on the slide. Like, who are the people that can most appreciate our concept? At least until now, and I do think because Vietnam is changing and it isn't the same as it was 5 years ago. If you're talking about Vietnamese people, most like Westerners, most Westerners appreciate our service. I have to say, people that are at least not too much out for the cheapest deals and the cheapest things. Like Westerners can mostly really appreciate our services. For Vietnamese people, they're often people that have lived abroad, work for foreign companies, have somehow a connection with like outside Vietnam. A lot of our Vietnamese customers, I think more than 50% of them, they either work for a Western company or they have studied in abroad or are born in Europe or United States. Like that's a lot of our Vietnamese customers, honestly. Yeah.
Okay.
And we reach them. We of course we have written down like this is the type of people that we want to get in. They're usually this kind of hobbies, this kind of interests. like if you want to talk about Facebook advertising, you can really well working with like lookalike audiences and say, okay, I want to target people that at least have an iPhone X or higher, let's say. Anybody under an iPhone X, we are not gonna advertise to, because we know, okay, if somebody there's a chance that somebody works on an iPhone 5 that they can afford our services, right? So like this, that's yeah, those are techniques we use for next year. Let's see. I see a question coming in, right? I
Yes,
think
you do.
that's the next slide. That's the next slide.
That's the next slide. I was waiting for you just to finish answering, but now we're gonna have to move to the next slide, and that's gonna be the end. Because like one of our attendees, Mr. Kwang, is asking you like, do you have any plan to expand the business into other neighbor countries? And which is kind of related to that last slide for me, which is I do plan expanding to another city after Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh, which could be outside of Vietnam, inside of Vietnam. What is your plan, Mr. Guido? Very simple question. When?
Yeah,
where?
this doesn't have to be long at all. Like, I'm a talker. Everybody knows I talk too long. I have
that's good.
I have a parrot on my blazer when I go to work because I talk so much.
Well, that's good. It's a really interactive talk. But then,
so like yes, at this moment we have no plans expanding to any other cities within Vietnam, because we do not believe that any other city is ready yet. I think maybe the cities that are most ready at this moment are maybe Haiphong and Da Nang. I might even think Haiphong might be more ready than Da Nang.
Wow, really?
I think so. Because
stylish.
First of all, to be honest, our brand name is still bigger in the northern Vietnam. Like, as a matter of fact, a lot of people in northern Vietnam would know House of Barbaard. In Saigon, it's still a little more difficult. And I have to say, I know, as a matter of fact, that there's a lot of people in Haiphong that know us already. Why is we get a lot of people from Haiphong already to be our customers at the moment.
Okay, so they come to Hanoi and just get their haircut in House of Barbaard.
Yes, and I can also say, I think a lot of people tend to forget that I think Haiphong was one of the most wealthy cities in Vietnam, huh? Like, because of the
why?
harbor.
Okay, yeah.
The harbor, and there's other reasons that I think all know, especially living in Saigon.
Sure.
We all know them. But anyways, Da Nang, obviously, I love Da Nang. It's an amazing city. I would love to expand Da Nang just for the fact that I want to be there, because I love Da Nang as a city. Although, I name Haiphong and Da Nang are equally interesting, but I don't think they're ready yet. Maybe give it like, I'm thinking maybe 1.5 years. I mean, you're saying 18 months, so I think maybe 1.5 years from now or something that might be ready. But
I mean, yeah, because when the question is tricky, because maybe like one of the way, because you just answered a little bit earlier, like with the COVID, I have no idea what's going to happen, right? It might be in 3 months from now, everything's going to be perfect, and then everything's going to be back to normal and all that. But it seems like the recent news are from the World Health Organization and a lot of people like in the pharma industry, like vaccine is not coming by at least until the end of year 2021. And it seems like the government in Vietnam doesn't want to take any risks to get anyone infected to come in the country and actually make an outbreak. So it seems like, assuming that the situation is not going to change based on for the borders, and then assuming that the market is still going to shrink for some time, that's hard just to predict. So that's one big factor, and then we can assume that. Because like it might actually involve you, like whenever you open like another city, you have to move there. You got to see like how to set things up and all that. And I don't know if you guys are still doing this by yourself, or actually you're going to hire someone else, so someone else can actually help you just to set up new markets or new stores or new retail or location and all this kind of thing. Because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of details. Like, you're going to make sure like things going to be right, and then you're going to make sure like the cost is actually affordable. I wouldn't even dare to say cheap, but let's say affordable. And then to make sure like the landlord or the person you're gonna work with is gonna be good enough for the next maybe years to come, right? So that's why when you mentioned Da Nang or Haiphong, I was surprised about Haiphong, but then it makes sense for the north. Da Nang is actually kind of like developing, but then it seems to be like the third biggest city now after Hanoi, because Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, and then you get Da Nang, and then you get the second tier cities. But
Well,
then
yeah. I think Da Nang is interesting because there's more foreigners there. You have tourism there if tourism comes back after COVID. But I do know if you look at the culture of how people spend, I honestly I haven't been in Da Nang long enough, but I knew, for example, surprisingly, that the people, that's why I'm not mentioning Haiphong. I know the people in Haiphong, they really like to like good bottles of whiskey and like that kind of like that's why I know Haiphong is interesting. But Da Nang I would prefer, and I know Da Nang is more Westerner, but it's also good. But for us to be so let's talk about the real focus. The real focus is for us not on another location, at least not in the next 1.5 or 2 years. Our focus is on product development. We are developing our own line of products. We will have more clothing coming into our collection really soon already. That's going to be one of the things. Product development. We're going to be focusing on our web shop.
Workshop for the haircut or for what?
Web shop, like an online shop.
Website, yes.
Like an online shop. So we want to kind of do a little bit what it's not a very good like per se online shop to compare ourselves with, but like Lazada is like we also want to work give other people the chance to sell through our online shop, but it needs to be very very strict criteria. Like we need to have like good inventory management, and the products they would sell need to be up to our quality standards. But what we kind of want to create is like the best online store in Vietnam for men, where you can buy your underwear, your like anything that you would really like everything man related. And even I'm planning to put a section on the website where you can buy things for your wife or girlfriend, because we know that as men we always struggle finding gifts for our girlfriend and wives. So I believe it will be very interesting to have one specific section dedicated to what are you going to get your wife or girlfriend, and what we're going to do, we're going to link with female, like shops for women, and they can also resell their products on our store, and they can actually help recommend the gifts for
recommendations.
This is something I want to do for the online store, and I think in 1.5-2 years we might consider a third location, although probably more interesting, that is what Quang was asking, is going outside Vietnam. Because like I can tell you something, I haven't done this and I'm not planning to do it just yet, because if we would open a House of Barbaard outside Vietnam, it needs to be really good. Obviously, we need to make sure the quality is at least as good as in Vietnam. Can be any worse for sure. So and it's not so easy expanding the concept and then still being able to keep everything. So first, what we need to do is getting good management that can help us doing the business development. We currently have a much better management team that can help us expanding the business. That's very important. Like you said, when the next location would open, preferably I want somebody else to be doing it.
You've done it yourself, right? So you understand the complexity and how hard, and then the time and how draining it is just to do everything.
Since the first moment we opened House of Barbaard Hanoi, we had so many requests coming in from people from London, Paris, US, New York, people from Australia, Indian people, Malaysia. We had Seoul, Korea. The amount of people that have contacted us over the last 2 years asking if we would be interested in franchising is insane.
So what's your?
Said no.
Okay, you say no. Okay, why?
Because I am worried that we're going to franchise that we're going to destroy everything that we built so far. We first need to make sure that if we would expand in that way, that at least I can have a little bit more time, because at this moment I spend 70 hours per week working already, and that is to keep everything here in Vietnam running. And having more locations outside Vietnam, I think it will be too much at this point. Although we're getting to a point that our management is way better than it was like a couple of years ago. So things are changing. And I'm more and more considering maybe we should open outside Vietnam. Um, um, and especially why I also want to do the product development first is I hope that when we can expand out to Vietnam, that we can have our own section of products that we sell within the store. So we have our own pomades, our own shaving products, our own nail oils, our own clothing, like so people can go to a House of Barbaard in Seoul or in, I don't know, Shanghai or whatever city, and actually walk in there and you would produce everything here in Vietnam. Vietnam will be the center. Vietnam will be our headquarters, but we would, yeah, make sure that we can, even our bar Ministry of Men, we made it as brandable
by
as
the way.
possible, so we can copy paste more or less the concept in the future. That's what we're working on at the moment. So we have certain cocktails, certain glasses that are specific to ourselves, and that we could some sure that House of Barbaard has the exact same chairs, the exact same glasses in the bar, the exact same cup coasters, and the exact same selection of products, preferably mostly our own products. So that's why that's what we need to focus on first.
Yes, because I can see like this for us, like when we expanded at WisePass, like we went to Hanoi, from Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi, and then Bangkok, and then Manila. First is actually we were looking for something that was similar to House of Barbaard. So we got something like in Thailand, like they call, I think it's Amber, and then like in Manila there's something else as well, but I forgot the name. Point is actually like when you're doing such type of things, it's hard actually to scale and actually control everything, like every single location. But I know that some hair salon exists like in France, because I just came back from France. And then there's like this guy called like Jean-Louis David, and then he has done this kind of like store format for the barbershop. And that's not going to be like the high end upscale, but that's going to be like kind of like still like middle upscale. And then everyone's going to go there. And then what he does is actually lots of mass advertising on TV. And then like people in each city where they live, they would go there because like they've seen the TV ads. So it's interesting like how, so you have like in your industry, like for hair salon, then the way they did it was like this. And then like when you have like a really upscale thing, how much capital do you need just to expand and grow to, let's say, 7 countries? And then like how do you manage all that? And then the way the management, the team, the execution, the process has to be like in place first before you can actually dare even trying just one new location, because like so many things can go wrong. So I can feel you. And then especially like you have like several products line right now. So it's not just like just barbers. It's just also like all the products you have behind the concept, the brand guidelines, so you can actually really set things up when you're going to open a store. Because I just discussed with another fashion brand like Coco Sin, like she has 10 stores already from north, middle, and south. It's a nightmare because like she needs to get like a set format now. She needs to be able to make sure like she can standardize for the supply chain. So whenever she produces something and manufacture and just send it over like to the store, then like there's a good inventory management and there's a proper system in place. And like she won't be able to be in every single city at the same time. So like she needs to build a team just like to manage things out. Like it's not possible now just to do everything by yourself. That's pretty much like when you actually to pull yourself out from the business and actually take a few steps back to think more strategically. That's why I asked you about the franchise question, like which is interesting because like if you do that, then the mindset is going to be like this, and then if you don't do it, then that's going to be a totally different way to manage the company, right? So as a founder, that's a big question.
Actually, something I can still share is maybe the last thing, then this part is, I guess, I'll cover it. But in general, I'm not interested in doing franchising. What I'm having in mind, and that is something they do in the hotel industry a lot, and I used to work in the hotel industry for a very long time, so I know how this works. I want to make it a management company. So it's
okay.
So that's the same thing
like
Intercontinental Accordo do. So literally, we have a local partner, let's say in Korea, that owns the building, that they own the location, and they let us manage the location there, and we we place a manager from the outside there to make sure that the business runs up to our standards, to make sure that everything is done the way we want it to be done, that the services are the same, everything is the same. So we place our, like what hotels would do, they'll place a general manager maybe and a food and beverage manager, and like the key people in the hotel are from Accor in let's say Sofitel's case itself. And I think I would like to do a similar structure, so we will have local partners then that kind of take us in as like we will manage it there. It works really well for hotels, and I think this system would work really good for us as well. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of in between. It's kind of in between franchising and us owning the branch ourselves. It is kind of in between. So we don't completely give the concept away that people can do it whatever they want, because in a way franchising is risky, because if you don't check it often enough, if you don't have somebody flying there like every month, then it's definitely possible that 1 month from now, like suddenly they add a lot of services and things that are not anymore the way we want it to be, or you need to have somebody checking all the time. While with a branch, it would open and also way more difficult. But that's why I think the management company idea for us works best.
That could work, I think. Like, point is actually, if you're able just to develop the concept of House of Barbaard like across the Asia Pacific for the next, let's say, 5 years, that would be pretty cool. So I can actually just drop by in each location every month, because it seems like I'm gonna have to use you guys like everywhere I fly. When we will be able to fly, of course. That's another problem. We'll discuss later. Anyway, so today we've had a very long founders talk, but then it's actually a little bit more than an hour discussion. But then we hope that our attendees have like a great time to watch. And then I have to finalize the founders talk today. Guido, thank you very much for joining the talk today, and hopefully see you very soon.
Thank you very much, and thanks for.
Okay.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye. I'm just gonna end that and post the